This is my journey. Good afternoon and blessings. Welcome to another episode of Broken Masterpieces Restored with yours truly, Latoya Roberts. Today we have the awesome privilege of part 2 of our candid conversation with Minister Gwen. If you missed the first part, check it out on our YouTube channel, Broken Masterpieces Restored. It's on demand. Let's get right in to this amazing conversation with Minister Gwendolyn. Okay. So thank you so much. We have Minister Gwendolyn Hardman for part 2 of her testimony. She is an amazing woman of God. She tells a story about her strength, her healing, how she overcome her sickness. She even gave us key points on how to give God a yes. Because God, he wants a complete yes. And he will make sure he gets it. So she has given us key points on how to just yield to the call of the Lord, yield to whatever the Lord has for us, whatever the Lord has in store for us, yield to his purpose. So we're going to go right into this. We're going to go into part 2. Gwendolyn was talking about her healing and how she started her ministry. So she's going to get right back into it. So Gwen, take it away, girl.
Yeah. And I was just sharing that. Yeah, even during that time after the Lord delivered me out of the wheelchair, that's when he began to solidify my purpose. And as I began to hear his voice calling me, I kind of had that Samuel experience where he called and I went to everybody else in the house thinking they were calling me and it wasn't them calling me, it was the Lord. And when I realized it was God, all I could do again was look up and just say, yes, Lord. And that's when he began to give me the name and he began to say Hedges. And I'm like, Hedges, God, where you want me to go in the woods somewhere? Like, what's going on here? You know, listen, this is how I talk to God, y'all. So, so then he began to then give me the rest of the name and he began to say Hedges and Highways Ministries. And I'm like, you want me to start a church? Like, what, God, what? You know?
Right.
And he began to just, when I tell you that night, that whole day, he just began to minister to me and show me what it was he was calling me to do. And at that moment, that's when Hedges and Highways Ministries was birthed. And what Hedges and Highways Ministries is, we are a ministry in motion, church beyond the walls with a whole lot of love on wheels and heels.
Wow.
And we go where the needs are, into the community. We just serve, you know, we do a lot of community things and women's events and men's events. And wherever we can help out, that's what we do. That's what Hedges and Highways Ministries is. And
but it births out of your sickness, your healing.
Yes.
And what God got your attention and he gave you that word and he gave
me that word. Yep.
Wow.
Yep. That was my yes. When he said he wanted a total yes, he meant it. And I mean, it was like I said, it was like a domino effect. I got ordained that year. It was just like a domino effect. Everything happened. And even my pastor said to me, she said, I don't know what you have been waiting for all these years anyhow. God been called you. You just was
right. Sometimes it's us. Sometimes it really is us. God is waiting on us because he's like, I already called you. You already supposed to been doing this. So I'm waiting on you.
Yeah, already knew.
We gotta catch up.
Yeah, right. We have to catch up. Yes. And I mean, after that, it was but prior to that, and like I said, I've gone through so many storms that God has brought me through. And the one thing that I really thought was going to take me completely out was the death of my daughter.
Yeah.
In 1991, my baby girl passed away.
Mm.
And it's one thing to have a child and they were sick and pass
Right.
away.
Right.
But to have a well, healthy child and you walk into the emergency room one day and 3 days later she's gone,
Jesus.
and to no avail as to why. There was no explanation as to what was the cause of her demise. They did list a whole heap of things, but there was no definitive reason as to this was her cause of death.
Wow.
And even in that, I can remember when we were sitting in the room when they had called us and told us that she wasn't going to make it through the night and the family was in the waiting area. And I remember my mom saying something that I had totally forgotten. She said to everybody in the room, she said, the one thing I can say about this child right here of mine, she said, from the time she was ever able to talk, everything that child has ever spoken has come to pass. She said, when she brought this baby home from the hospital, she told us we better love her and cherish her because we were not going to have her long. Now, I had no remembrance of saying that, but I know if my mom said, I said it. I said it.
Said it. Yeah.
Right. So now, and let me just say disclaimer, no inkling of a thought that not having her long was in reference to a death and dying.
Right.
Okay. In my mind. No, believe me. Okay. That was never a thought.
How old was she?
She was actually sick. She would have been 7 the next day. She died a day before her birthday. Yeah. So instead of planning her birthday party, I was planning her funeral. But even in that, for some reason, I had set the date for her birthday party and I changed it to an earlier date. And I was so glad I did because the day that her party was supposed to be, that her sister's party was supposed to be, that Saturday was the Saturday she passed.
Oh my gosh. Jesus.
Yeah. So, and actually she's the one that came to me and she said, Mommy, you know what? She said, can we have the party closer to, because she wanted, normally I would have it in the middle because both of my girls were born in December. One was born December 16th, one was born December 29th. And we know we have Christmas in the middle. So I don't do the all in one thing. So I said, so she had asked me, she said, Mommy, can we have the party closer to my birthday this year since we always usually have it closer to her older sister's birthday? So I said, sure, we'll move it up. So I don't know, somewhere along the way, I just felt compelled to change it to an earlier date. And I'm glad I did because, like I said, that day that it was originally scheduled for, she passed away. But anyway, while she was prior to her getting sick, prior to any of this, I had a vision. Maybe I'll say 6 months prior to her going to the hospital. And I called my godmother and I said, Mom, I said, I had this dream vision, whatever you want to call it. I said, it was so strange. I said, it was about this lady that had passed away. I said, I saw her casket. It was white. She had on a white and gold dress. I said, but the lady was so little. I said, and she had all this hair. I said, but she was so little. I said, I saw the funeral. I saw her when she was in the hospital. Like I saw everything. It's only 3 things I couldn't see. I couldn't see the woman's face. I couldn't see who preached her funeral. And I couldn't see where I was at the funeral.
Right.
Okay. And again, in hindsight, I understand why I couldn't see all of that. So she said, wow. She said, you saw, I said, yeah, Ma, I saw all of it. Like every bit of it. Right. I said the funeral was so packed. Like this must have been a well-known lady because it was packed, Ma.
Right.
So she was like, she said, you know what, daughter? She said, I just want you to stay prayerful and fast. She said, because it just sounds to me like God is trying to prepare you for something. So I said, okay, no problem. Again, never attributing it to anything going to happen in my personal life.
Right. Right.
So, long story short, that particular night that I had to take my daughter to the hospital, she had went in the bathroom and she said, Mommy, my daughter drank a lot of water. And she was like, Mommy, can I get some water? And I was like, yeah. I said, give me a minute. I get some water out the kitchen. So she said, well, I got to go to the bathroom. So she went to the bathroom. And where I used to live, there was like this long hall. And then at the end of the hall was the bathroom. So the door was open so I could see her. So you know how kids like to climb up on the side of the tub and put their mouth under the spout and get the water. So
Yeah.
that's what she was doing. And I was like, Ronnie, didn't I tell you I was gonna get you some water? So as she went to get the water and she began to sip it, and as she turned to get back down, and I'm just assuming as she swallowed the water, when the water hit her stomach, she screamed like somebody had punched her in her gut.
Mm-hmm.
And when I turned around, I literally saw my baby like sliding down, like she was getting ready to pass out, hit the floor.
Mm-hmm.
So I ran down the hall, scooped her up, and the hospital was like on the corner of the next block from where I live. I just scooped her up, ran out the door, and started running to the hospital because I'm like, I don't know what's going on with my baby.
Right.
And so as I'm running, my neighbor's like, Gwen, where are you going? I said, to the hospital. I got to get her to the hospital. I don't know what's wrong with her. I don't know. She's like, well, wait, let me get my mother upstairs and I'll take you. I said, girl, I'm gonna be at the hospital by then.
By the time
So
you come, yeah.
exactly, so I'm flying. So get her in there. So they're like, what's the matter? I said, I don't know. She just started collapsing. She drank some water, screamed, and started collapsing in the bathroom. I don't know what's wrong with her. So they was like, okay, mom, just calm down. So I was like, calm down. This is my baby.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So so they was like, okay, just calm down. So they're gonna tell me now, mind you, this was Christmas Eve. They said she was fine. She had the chicken pox.
Mm-hmm.
I said, the chicken pox where? Like, I don't see no bumps on her, no nothing. Like, where? They was like, yeah, she has the chicken pox. Just take her home, just give her some soup, something warm, and it'll, the rest of them will come out and she'll be fine. And I'm like,
wow.
Okay. I said, okay. So I went home, did that. I'm still waiting on these chicken pox to pop out, and I'm like, I'm not seeing nothing. So all that day, she just wasn't herself. And I'm like, Ronnie, what's the matter? She was like, Mommy, I just don't feel good. I don't feel good. And she wasn't a complaining child, so for her to be saying she didn't feel good, she didn't feel good.
Right,
Okay?
right.
So
Mothers know their children.
Right. And she was a quiet child at that.
Mm-hmm.
So I said to her, I said, okay, if you're not feeling good after dinner, I'm going to take you back to the emergency room.
Mm-hmm.
So she was like, okay, are we going over grandma's house? I said, no, I'm not going to take you out because they said you have the chicken pox and I don't want to take you out in the air.
Mm-hmm.
So I called my godfather and my godfather came over, brought us dinner. He prayed for her. And then after he came, I took her back to the hospital. So when I tell you a whole hot mess, okay, at this hospital, I literally had to, kind of sort of act up to get her seen, because they were ready to send her back home again.
Discharge her again. Wow.
Right. And I told him, I said, no, we're not doing that tonight. We're not. She's going to stay.
Mm-hmm.
And you guys are going to run some tests. You're going to do something. I said, because the only way I said I'm going to leave here is probably in handcuffs if you don't,
right.
I said, and then you're going to have to keep her because I'm going to be going somewhere else, I said, so
that's a good mother. A good mother is a mama bear.
I said, so.
Okay, you fight for your kid.
So, right. So I'm like, okay, let's just do what we need to do. She wound up going into cardiac arrest. So when they finally called this specialist in, she said, because at this point, there's nothing I can do for your daughter. She said, but at this point, is if a miracle doesn't happen, she said, even if she survives this, she's not going to be the child that you brought in here. And you have to decide if you can handle that. Mm-hmm. So she and it was so amazing because even through that, Ronnie carried me, because even when she was in the ER before she got to that state, she began to tell me goodbye. And I heard her, because she was like, Mommy, that was the best party we had. It was so great, Mommy. She's like, you the best mommy in the world. I love you. Tell my sister she got to be a good girl. Tell grandma I love her. She just began to. So I looked at my niece and I was like, do you hear what I'm hearing? Mm-hmm. And she was like, Auntie, please don't say it. Please don't say it. I said, but do you hear it? Mm-hmm. I said, literally like I'm sitting and listening to my child telling me goodbye. Mm-hmm. And of course I dismissed it because I heard it, but you don't want to hear that. You know what I'm saying? So And then even when she got up in the room, and it wasn't until a couple of years ago, I was able to even watch the movie Home Alone again, because that was the last movie that we watched together in the hospital.
Okay. Yeah.
And we was in the room watching it, and she looked at me and she said, "Mommy," she said, "don't get mad at the doctors." She said, "They don't know." She said, "They really don't know, Mommy." She said, "But I'm gonna be fine." She said, "You know what I want you to do, Mommy? I want, every time I get a pain, I want you to just hold me as tight as you can." She said, "And I'm gonna be fine." And I'm looking at this
Smart
little girl
little
and I'm like,
girl.
"Who are you? Where did you come from?" You know what I'm saying? Like,
Little
but that,
angel.
right. And that's what got me through. Even when I couldn't take it anymore and I started, she said, "Mommy, don't cry." She said, "Mommy, don't cry." She said, I'm gonna be fine." She said, and I said, because I said to her, I said, "Ronnie," I said, "if I could take this away from you, if I could take this pain from you and what you're going through right now, I would." I said, "But mommy don't know what to do. Like, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to help you." I said, "But you know how to pray. I taught you how to pray." I said, "Now you pray and ask God what you want."
Mhm.
My daughter turned her face to that wall. I don't know what she prayed. You know what I'm saying? She could have said, "God, I can't take this." You know what I'm saying? Whatever was going on in her body, she could have said it, you know. But from that moment on, when I tell you, she began to minister to me and everybody that came in her presence, because even the doctor said when he was taking her to ICU, she looked at him and said, "Is Jesus really his name?" And she said to her, "Yes, that's what I've been taught all of my life." She said, "That's where I'm going to heaven to be with him." And she said at that moment, my daughter literally lit up. She said she couldn't even touch her anymore after that. She said
Mm.
they told me this doctor literally ran out of the elevator crying, saying, "We've got to help this child. She is a special child. Like, we got to save her. Like,
Mhm.
she got to get well, you know."
Mhm.
So the testimonies that I got just from her being in that hospital, and even people at her funeral that I didn't even know, but because
Right.
of something that she had said to them at school or on the way to school, or and I'm telling you, she wasn't a talker. So if she said something to you, it was God purposed or God driven, because she wasn't a
She
talker.
wasn't a talker.
She wasn't a talker. So it was amazing. It was just amazing, that experience. And when people hear me talk about it, they be like, "You talk about it with so much." And I'm like, "Yeah, because
Because I'm looking at you and I'm like,
I am
you,
so honored that
yeah,
God chose me to
yeah,
birth a
yeah,
child such as her." Like,
yes.
she was not, and I
It's something
understand her,
special.
she couldn't stay on this earth. Ronnie
Uh-huh.
couldn't understand you, somebody pushing you. Like, she couldn't understand, like, why would you want to hurt somebody else? Like, she could not. I lie to you not. I never complained about what I could or could not do for my children.
Mhm.
And I never forget one year I had to do school shopping. I had to buy both of them sneakers, both of them this. And I was like, "God, how am I going to do this? You know, I need you to help me, you know." This girl came out of nowhere. She was like, "Mommy, can we have a secret?" And I was like, "Sure, baby." She was like, "You can't tell my sister." And I was like, "Okay." She was like, "I want you to buy my sister sneakers and I'll wait, because she's going to get mad if she don't have new sneakers. But I'm going to be okay, because I know you're going to get them anyway, Mommy."
Mm.
And I'm like, how does God know I'm sitting here counting my pennies trying to figure out if I'm gonna
Right.
get, I can get both of them a pair of sneakers?
That was a little angel on earth.
She was. And my mom said when she went to work after she had stayed home with me after she passed away,
Mhm.
the lady on the train was like, "Miss Goodman, I haven't seen you in a while. Where you been?" She said, "Oh, you remember my two little granddaughters that used to bring to work with me?" She said, "Yeah." She said, the baby girl, the one that didn't come that much because she couldn't pry her away from her mother. She said, she passed away. So lady was like, "What?" So she was like, "Is that the one that had all the hair?" She said, "Yeah." She
Mhm.
said, "Well, do you have a picture?" So my mom said she showed her her picture, and she looked at, and this is a lady that's of another race than us.
Okay.
She said she looked at my daughter's picture and she said, "Oh, she couldn't stay here. You see Angel all around her."
Yeah.
So I'm like, even to this day, the things that people still say about her, and it's been since 91. Um, I'm just blessed, you know what I'm saying? And even out of, and like I tell people, I even see God's glory in this. You
Mhm.
know what I'm saying? Yes, I went through 3 years of depression. I went through 3 years of suicidal thoughts. I went through 3 years of planning my own death because I just didn't think I was going to live through this. I mean, to the point where I had a gun one night and was going to blow my head out off if I had woke up the next day feeling that way. But I made the biggest mistake that was actually not a mistake of acknowledging God in that process by saying, God, if you don't take this pain from me, when I wake up in the morning, I'm gonna blow my brains out. And at that moment,
you called him, and he came about to see about his daughter.
come on here.
Just like a parent, Ma is coming to run. Mom is coming to see about her daughter.
Listen.
He came about to see about his daughter.
And
you
did he
called
not
his
come?
name.
When I tell you late in the midnight hour,
and he came in the nick of time. In the nick of time.
Show right on up. Show right. And listen, here I go again. And I'm like, God, I don't understand. Like, here I am taking care of other people's kids in these projects. And I'm doing that. And you're going to take my baby. You're going to let my baby go, you know. And I'm just going through my little, you know. And finally I said to him, I said, but God, where were you when my daughter died? Like, but why? You know, Holy Spirit said to me, I was the same place I was when my son died for you.
Jesus.
Listen, when I tell you my God moments has impacted my life and shifted, they always shift me to somewhere else. Because when he speaks explicitly. He speaks precisely. You can't, there was no comeback from that.
Yeah.
What was I going to say?
Yeah, what was you going to say about that?
What?
Right. Tell me, what would you say to a parent that has experienced loss? I mean, you obviously have gone through some healing to even be able to speak right now without shedding a tear and crying and boo-hooing, snotty nose. And that's your baby. And I know you love her. The moment you knew you were having her until now and forevermore.
Yes.
But God has healed you enough where that's not an open wound that, you know, you are crying and boo-hooing. Talk to somebody that needs to be in a place of healing and is having a hard time getting there.
And what I will say is let the process.
Right.
I will tell you, go through the grieving stages. Don't let anybody tell you how long to grieve or how to grieve, but don't get stuck in your grief.
That's it. Don't get stuck.
You have to go through it. It's a process. I don't care how saved you are. I don't care how sanctified you are. I don't care how Holy Ghost filled you are and how much you love the Lord. The reality of it is you're going to feel that loss and that pain. But I promise you, if you really give it to God and you allow him to take you through every stage of that, you'll get on the other side of it.
You will.
Now, you're not going to ever forget it.
Right.
But you won't drown in it.
Right.
You won't drown in that storm. It won't take you under because when you realize, because what I had to also realize is I could cry a river. She ain't coming back.
That's right.
Okay. I could be as angry and as mad as I want. She's not coming back, not to this earth.
Right.
Okay. So what was it going to profit me? What? Not a thing. But when God said to me what he said, and then he had to remind me she wasn't yours anyhow. I loaned her to you.
Right. Our life is
and
not
when
our
we
own.
understand that nothing belongs to us, we will begin to see things differently, even our loved ones. Because it would have been really selfish of me to pray the prayer, God, keep her here. And then she would have been here not being able to function, not being able to be the little girl, lively girl. That would have been very selfish of me. Yeah, he could have honored my prayer and kept her here. And let me say this, and I know time is winding up, but just let me share this with you. While I was at her bedside in the room, I was singing to her and talking to her, and I happened to say to the doctor, I said, can she hear me? Does she know? And he said, yeah, she can hear you. She knows that you're there. And I said, okay. So I said to Ronnie, I said, baby, I don't know why you have to leave me. I don't. I don't have the answer for that. I said, but you know what? I just need one thing from you. I need you to know to let me know that you know that I'm right here with you.
Mm-hmm.
I said, and if you hear me, I want to look in those beautiful brown eyes of yours one more time, and I just want you to squeeze my hand as tight as you can.
Mm-hmm.
When I tell you that girl turned her head, opened her eyes, looked at me, and squeezed my hand,
Wow.
and not 5 minutes lapsed, the doctor walked in and said, Miss Goodman, she's gone.
Wow. Wow.
So God will give you what you need to get you where he wants you to go.
Exactly.
He knew that I needed that. He knew it, but I had to entrust him with it. And
Mm.
that's the thing. We have to trust him with even our grief, even
Yes.
our hurt, even our
Yes.
pain. If he can be God in the sunshine, why is it that we can't expect him to be God in the rain?
Right. Jesus. We're going to stop right there. Oh, such an amazing moment we had with you. I thank you so much for sharing your story.
I
I
thank
thank
you
you
for
so
having
much.
me.
Thank you. I thank you so much for sharing your story of healing. I thank you for sharing your story of strength and faith. And my prayer to you, my prayer is that God will continue to illuminate his purpose in your life, continue to flourish your ministry, continue to give you favor upon favor and blessings upon blessings, and open up doors and windows that no man can shut.
Oh, God, I
I
receive
pray
it.
that he give you the help that you need to continue on. I
Thank you.
pray that you continue to stay in God and continue to tell your story. You are a true blessing. I appreciate you coming. I appreciate you accepting the invitation. Here you have it. A woman of faith tells her story of her pain and how God changed her pain into purpose and how she's able to triumph through life. See, it's not just for her. God's promises and his purpose is for everyone, his children. Stay tuned next week for another conversation. See you then.